Welcome to the WDW Fan Zone Show. I am Stuart Sternberg, and I am joined tonight by John Maloney, Darlene Nagy, and Kurt. And we are here to talk about how social media is affecting people's planning their next, or maybe their first and only Disney World vacation. So I had seen a bunch of things on social media, where else, of people complaining that they're seeing these strings of information about things that they were planning to do on their next vacation, and they were not so positive. It could have been a restaurant where they might have made an ADR way in advance, and all of a sudden they're seeing people saying they don't like it, the server wasn't good. It could have been a bad night. It could have been somebody who just wants to hate on Disney, and people just glomming on to that. But it's starting to affect how people are viewing social media with how they're making their vacation plans. A lot of people put questions out there because they need information to help inform them. They don't just go to their travel planner, although they could and probably should, especially if it's Mouse Fan Travel, and we'll tell you about them later on. But they're relying on what they're seeing online, and we know in social media that a lot of things are not very reliable. So I figured we'd have a discussion on it. I know we're going to get off topic on this because we always do. But I thought we'd talk about it. Now, Kurt, you go once or twice a year. Do you rely? The park's like the back of your hand because you go every year.
Yeah.
But do you still rely on information you see online? And if so, do you discern from what you think is good information from the bad?
Back in the day, you used to have to grab one of these huge books and read the whole thing inside out just to see what was new.
Tell them what you're holding.
This would be the 1994 Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World
by Len Testa and I forgot
Bob it's Bob
Schlesinger.
Schlesinger, thank you. So
great book.
That's what you had to rely on, and I have them all the way up until like 2007, and then we started going, okay, we can get all this information online, and it's not dated anymore.
Yep.
So at that point, you need to really just like we'd study which books we got back in the day. You really needed to study which website you'd go to now. I mean, obviously the Facebook communities are huge, but there are some Facebook communities where you could ask a simple question and people just tell you how dumb you are.
Yep.
That's not the right community. So you got to delete communities like that. I'm looking for someone that's going to tell me something that if they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they're not necessarily going to say that it's a bad thing. It's just not their favorite. It's just not something that they enjoy.
Opinion is fine,
right?
But stating that your perspective is the only one is
exactly
right. It's very subjective because what is good for you or me may not be good for someone else, and vice versa. Same thing with food. Everybody's got different taste in food. There are some things that I love that maybe somebody doesn't. And there's some things that we know John loves. and I think Lottie's not here tonight. I think, she hates pizza. How she can eat pizza, I don't know, but she does.
Now, one of the things, I have a friend here that's, like I said, been going to Disney for years on end. She's one of the original DVC members. She is, as she'll say, old school. She doesn't really like looking everything up on the computer. She likes talking to a live person. She doesn't like the fact that, she has to, use her phone to open up the door. There's certain things that social media and the technology has taken out of the relaxation of a trip.
Well, let me pose this to you guys, and I don't want to get into it too much. We'll save it for maybe later in the show or another show. But Disney knows everything you're doing, when you're doing it, where you're doing it, and how you're doing based on the reservation system. If you purchase Genie Plus, if you use the free Genie Plus, if you purchase the paper ride, they know everything about anything you're doing in that park. But just wanted to pose that out there, and we can get
The
into that
app.
later.
They literally, when you first sign into your app, it's going to ask you, do we have permission to help give you a better, a more enjoyable vacation? Do we have permission to
Yeah.
basically track you
Yep.
when we're using it? We need your location services to be able to give you up-to-date updates on where you are at.
Yep.
So, and yeah, Chapek even said, we know everything that you are doing as you're walking around the parks. We know where you are, what you're doing, how long it takes for you to get from point A to point B for the average person. They know all these biometrics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's technology. And if you want to be old school and not use that at all, then just like it was back in the early trips for my wife and I before FastPass, you are going to be waiting. A short line is going to be 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I've made it very clear on past shows that I am not a fan of the reservation system. I think for people who are coming here on vacation, it doesn't matter because you're going to reserve days in parks anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
it makes no difference to you. But if you live here in Florida and you're an annual pass holder, you want to be able to go when you want to go. Like I had a reservation tomorrow for Magic Kingdom, but something came up. So I canceled my reservation. Rather than in the past where I could have just said, you know what, I'm not going to go today. Or I'll wake up in the morning and I'll say, you know what, I am going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But we're off topic already on this.
But we are, but we're not, because this is kind of letting people know some of the research we actually have to go through in order to be how technology is going to be affecting it. Well, I guess we're on the social media aspect of it, but social media is what you make of it. I have reached out to people before and said, hey, we're looking for somewhere to eat at Disney Springs that's new. You're down there eating there all the time. This is where we're thinking about going. And they've actually said, they're okay, but you're going down with family. If you're looking for just comfort food, you might want to try this restaurant instead. The service is going to be fine at either one of them. I just tend to like this food tastes better. It's and in 6 months that could change.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So, but they're like, do what you want to do. It's your choice. So you just have to find the right person,
right?
That you want to follow.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's just take Tron for a moment as an example. It's a brand new attraction. I'm sorry, not Tron. Guardians
of the Galaxy.
Brand new attraction, and everybody's posting about it. And people are starting to panic that might be coming down now from wherever they live. How am I going to get on the attraction? I want to go. I haven't been to Disney in 10 years. What do I do? They don't know because they haven't been here. And there's so much information on how to best get on the virtual queue.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question that they may ask is, what is the virtual queue? How do I find out more information?
Yeah, what if they don't know about it?
And Disney's website doesn't really give you a lot of information, but it's not enough.
But if you have a park reservation for Epcot, you do get an email that forewarns you of the upcoming reservation and what you need to do for that Guardians of the Galaxy. But if you're not a person that checks your email constantly, you would not see that.
But Darlene, when does that email come to the person? A day or two before they actually go into that, have a reservation for that park.
Disney's assuming that you're going to have your email with you, that you can open it and look at it.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is you're 2 months out of your vacation.
Yeah.
So
and you're researching it. That doesn't help you then. Go ahead.
You can go onto Disney's got a YouTube webpage.
Mm-hmm.
What used to be called the Moms Panel, I forget what it's called now, where they actually they've done it, and bloggers like them or love them or hate them, they have actually shown you step by step how to do some of these things.
Yep.
So
one of the very good vloggers is Molly, who was with All Ears, and she's now on her own. I forgot the name of her YouTube page. but she's very good at explaining things step by step. So is the Disney food blog and All Ears.
Yes.
AJ Wolf is phenomenal when it comes to explaining things.
Right. Right. And it helps.
Yeah, it does help. But, it's that, and that's the kind of information you need to go beyond just looking at social media and asking a question, because you don't know who the person is that's giving you the information some of the time, especially if you haven't been here in a long time to Disney World.
Well,
You may not know, who do I follow? Who do I, who's my go-to community? And you may pick the wrong one, like you said.
Well, I think that's a reason to temper your expectations and temper what you do. So you don't have to know about everything. There's some important things, but you don't have to know about every restaurant and every attraction.
No.
You can go out and explore and experience things for yourself. And once you know kind of what you like and what your opinion is, then you can look for a community or a site that, you don't have to agree with it 100%, but you get a sense of whether you feel comfortable with them.
John,
just going out and looking.
You worded that perfectly. And I think that's one of the dangers people are having now in using social media to help plan a vacation, is they're seeing so much information out there on so many things that they're trying to learn about all these words. And you're right, you don't have to. Know what your likes are and your dislikes are, and go with your gut.
You can't just, like you said, you can't just base everything off of what one person said. There's enough information even on the Disney websites where when we're researching for a trip, we're looking at the actual Disney website, either on our phones or wherever, looking at the menu. What do they have? Because someone could be raving about something and how great this stuff is, and then you go down there and it was something seasonal.
Yeah.
So, especially with all the wine and dine and they've got new food at the kiosks. It feels like every 3 months.
There are a lot of people out there that like to see people video or record live in the parks because they haven't been to Disney for a while, or they're not going back for a while, and it kind of fills in the gap. It gives them that little magic that they're looking for. So it does serve a purpose for some, but for others who may want to experience things firsthand, if they decide, okay, I can't take my eyes off of this, but I shouldn't be watching it because I want to experience for myself, you have yourself to blame for that.
Yeah.
And people do that.
You can pick and choose. So, for instance, I like to see some of the food that's new. So if there's a new cupcake, or there are these new specialty desserts that are coming out for the holidays, something like that, that helps to get me excited, because I can say, hey, that looks good to me.
Yep.
That I want to make a point to stop there on my upcoming trip.
Where there's a new restaurant, and and it's a kind of food that you like, that you enjoy. That's something you're going to want to try.
And you may not have known about it otherwise.
Right.
And it is nice to, we all know Lisa, the castle runner. She will go out one of the first days when there's a new festival going on, whether it's food and wine, flower and garden, and she'll take photos. Here it is. This is what they have available at this location. She might actually, have one standing there to show you what it actually looks like versus what it's just a picture of, so you can get actual size. I mean, I remember there was a sausage in over in Germany one year. Then you looked at this thing; it looked like a full, almost like a quarter pound sausage, and it was about the size of my finger. It was just the way they took the photo.
It makes it look.
She can give you an actual photo of what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
Something like that. If I'm going down, that's what I'm going to look for. I want to look for, okay, just give me the facts. Don't necessarily give me an opinion, because like you're saying, Stuart, what I like to eat, what you like to eat might be two completely different things. But if you can show me what's available, that's helping me with my research.
Yeah. Now I want to mention two things here. I want to get back to what you just mentioned. if I remember in a second. I'm getting old. I don't remember anything. But one of the names I mentioned briefly earlier was Len Testa. He has a site called Touring Plans. So that will give you a breakdown on attractions, restaurants, wait times, historical wait times. Now, with COVID, it kind of threw things off the last couple of years, but they really do, through their algorithms, try to give you as much accurate information as possible. That's a good place to go. And someone we haven't mentioned yet, Lou Mangello and WDW Radio. That is an excellent source and a wonderful community. But I want to forewarn people, even the good communities have bad people trolling around in them.
Right.
So be careful. Now, getting back to your point, what was your point again, Kurt?
Give me the facts, not your opinion. That point.
Yep. Yeah.
That's why a lot of times when I want to go to the parks and stuff, I'll look at my annual pass information or the Disney Parks blog to see what's new for the festivals and stuff, see if they've changed anything, added anything, because a lot of times they'll list them there. And I'll read what they are. If there's like something that I really want to try, I'll make a note of it in my on a pad or in my notepad in my phone, and I'll say I want to definitely try to find this so I can eat it.
Yeah.
But
And
that's that's how you have to do it now.
Yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine if they ever get rid of park passes and our festival books because they don't want to do paper anymore?
They may. Anyway, getting back to your point, Kurt, and I'm sorry, Darlene. We'll get back to that. You're right. You want the facts. You don't want someone's opinion, because there are people out there, they'll hear someone who may be well known within the community say that, hey, this restaurant's great. I love it there. And then everybody all of a sudden, oh, we have to go there. It becomes the in place to go because this one person said it. And then they go there and their expectations are not met. It may exceed their expectations. But when it comes to food, it's incredibly subjective to that person's taste.
So you just made an interesting point there, and that is you hear somebody that's got a following and people listen to them. Mm-hmm. So there's certainly a big movement of social media influencers these days.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
what is your sense of how big Disney based and Disney content social influencers are? Do you think that they're just as big for Disney content as they are for anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. I think you can, any subject and any topic that you can think of, you're going to find influencers out there, just like the ones you have in the Disney community. Yeah. Some better than others.
Not just people who have a website, have a podcast, have content, whatever, and then as a result of that, they have influence. I'm talking about people who go out of their way to just be an influencer about Disney.
Oh yeah, you have TikTokers that do that.
Mm-hmm.
People
water
are
out of fountains.
Instagram that that's all they do, and they're making money off of it. And I don't begrudge them making money off of it. But I'll tell you, I was very offended by some of the vloggers out there that decided to take up residence in one of the resorts during Hurricane Ian to report on and show what Disney is and isn't doing. F them. They shouldn't be there. Save it for a family in need. That's all I'm going to say on that, because I'm going to get angry.
Well, sadly to say, you don't know. They could have been one of those families in need.
There was, I could tell you right now, there was somebody there who had relatives that were supposed to come down. They canceled because of the hurricane, and they took the resort room. So, and there were others that got lucky, got a resort room, and their only purpose was to put any information they could out there about the hurricane to make money off of it. It's just wrong.
I know one of the recent videos that went viral was the family that snuck in the little girl that was about 5 years old.
I remember I saw that video.
That's as bad as the woman who a few years ago wore some over revealing spaghetti dress or
Get a
shirt
t-shirt. Yep.
just to get a free t-shirt.
Yep.
Right.
I don't like. That's not the information I'm looking for
No.
in regards to Disney.
Yeah.
And you know, Disney can easily stop that. They're going to have to check every baby carriage now, unfortunately, but they have to do it. You kick somebody out of the park for not wearing appropriate attire, let them go out and buy their own and come back.
People jumping over the ropes so that they can get a picture at a
Mhm.
stage, and so and that makes it difficult, especially when you're
It does.
one of those frontline cast members, and you're not getting paid huge salary, but to have to manage those situations, especially if people are difficult, that's a tough position to be placed in.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think people should be going rather than using social media. You know, it's okay to ask questions on social media if you know the community you're asking the question. If you don't, if you're a complete novice, I think you're better off going to certain Disney-owned websites and Disney fan websites that are informative. We've mentioned some already: WDW Radio, Disney Food Blog, All Ears. Um, you know, I think people have to, the touring plans, I think people have to find the right place to go. There are some out there, I'm not going to mention the names, that are solely driven on profit. And I'm not saying these websites don't make money off of their readers and everything else they're doing within the Disney community. A lot do, but some were formed, none that I've mentioned, were formed solely for the purpose of making money. And you know, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be informative. It's just, I don't know if their heart's really into it to give you the information you're looking for. The Disney Moms panel, whatever it's called now, that's a great place to go and ask a question. I don't know how quick the turnaround is to get a response, but that's a wonderful place to go. The Disney Parks blog, my God, that's an absolute great resource for information. Even the D23 website, depending on what you're looking for.
Plan Disney is the new moniker for the Disney
Mom's channel.
Okay,
There is. They're very helpful.
You know, a website that the podcast is not the greatest, but it's good for information. You know, if you're looking for factual information, is Dis Unplugged. They have a lot of factual information out there. You may not agree with their opinions, but put their opinions aside. And if you're looking for factual information, they've got it.
Let's All Ears Net are pretty good about updating their menus.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you have an idea of not just what it is that's there, but also what the prices are of what they are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, these are the sites that we're using. Yeah. Before we come down on a trip, where are we going on each day? Deciding, might have to look somewhere to see what the calendar is looking like. And
Mhm.
then once we've decided, where do we want to eat on one of these days? Because we've eaten at so many different restaurants, we want to try somewhere new. We're not looking at the table service restaurants per se. We're looking at the quick service. What's something so it's not all. Hey, Disney makes a great burger. I don't need 6 days of burgers for every meal. Let's try something else. What about this? What about this? We haven't been here in a while. Let's try this. And that's where all these different websites help.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you have a car with you on your vacation, you don't want to stay on property the whole time. My suggestion would be look for people who live down here to find out about restaurants off property. I can tell you right now, you're not, if you're from the Northeast, you're not going to find, except for Via Napoli, and maybe there might be one or two other places, but with the exception of Via Napoli, you're really not going to find good pizza down here. Not compared to what you're used to there. If you come from another part of the country, what they have down here might be better than what you have at home. I don't know.
If you want to go for great seafood, you can go right over to Celebration and go to Celebration Town Tavern. There's a plug for them today.
They've got more than great seafood there. They've got great food, period, there.
Yeah. Great. I mean, everything. They've got daily specials and stuff.
Mhm.
They just had a wonderful lobster special that I had mentioned before on our news show. So,
But you know what? I would, Darlene. Well, I agree with you that restaurant is great, and you can't. There's nothing there that's bad that I've had. And I know people, neighbors too, that have been to that restaurant and love it. It's our opinion of the food, and it depends on what you like. I would tell you, look at the menu before you go. Prices might become a factor. Just don't take our word for it.
I
Research.
know, I know a friend of ours. He just told me about Downtown Celebration Pizza, Uptown Pizza, I think it's called or something. He really likes that. I want to try it and see. He
Where's your
says the
friend from?
best. Pardon?
Where's your friend from?
Long Island.
Okay.
And he said it's the closest he's found to New York pizza.
Yeah, and there's a place that in Winter Garden that I haven't been there in a long time, but the last time I was there, the pizza was the closest thing I could find to New York style or New York, New Jersey style pizza.
Hmm.
Haven't found it anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I've heard there've been some changes, so I'm gonna have to go back there and check that out.
Mm,
So I don't
okay.
want to give the name of the place or
Yeah.
anything yet. But it's if somebody's from Long Island and they say that the pizza in this place is good, I would trust that because it's somebody from the Northeast who's used to Northeast pizza. But if you tell me somebody from Cincinnati, Ohio said this pizza is good, I'm sorry, nothing against Cincinnati, Ohio, nothing against the pizza from there. I don't know the pizza from there. I know what it's like in the Northeast. Like Kurt, you're from the Midwest.
I know a good.
Yeah,
Chicago knows pizza, but it's a
yeah, but
different pizza
it's a
than the
different.
East Coast pizza.
Yep.
But we still know pizza, and some of our we got Lou Malnati's. The thin crust to me is just as good as a deep dish, but it. You go to some of these places, like you're saying, I've gone other places in Michigan where it's just a local joint, and they're like, "Oh, people rave on our pizza," and we get it, and we're throwing half of it away.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's not being a pizza snob. It's just not a good pizza.
Right. It's not what you're used to from where, and it depends on where you're from geographically, whether
I
you
mean,
like certain pizzas.
and this is where you have to be careful. They just did that pizza blog for whatever the new show is that's going to be on Hulu, and they rated, I want to say it was Pizza Rizzo, like top 5 pizzas you can get
Yep.
at Walt
I
Disney
saw
World.
that.
And that's where you have to do your research
Yep.
because they'll say that, and it's the ambiance is really, really fun. I don't think that's a top 5 pizza.
It's a bottom 5 pizza, if you ask me.
It's
It's. I'll give another example. Chinese food. New York Chinese food, New York City Chinese food is in most places is wonderful. It's great. Best you're going to find anywhere. New Jersey. We lived there for quite a while. We got used to it. Is it better than New York? Hell no. And living here in Florida, yeah, we found Chinese restaurants where the food is okay, but it's nowhere near to the level we were used to in terms of taste and richness up north. But you get used to it. But if you're here traveling on vacation, it's like you've got one shot to get this restaurant right. You got to be careful.
Well,
we've had that discussion. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was just going to share something that I find good about social media and Disney planning, and that is for the group of which I'm a part, planning for Run Disney trips.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a group, and people are very supportive. They come together. They share their understanding of races. They share their understanding of training. They put things that are out there about their personal experiences that help to motivate others, and people can, share positive messages with each other, and I find that very helpful with psyching myself up and planning a Run Disney trip. So, and there's other kinds of communities as well, but that's something that I find very positive out there with social media for Disney.
A lot of the resorts, the Disney resorts, you'll see a lot of information out there about the rooms, pictures you'll see. So if you're looking for whether it's a moderate value or deluxe resort, there's a lot of information out there on social media, and I'd say, yeah, you're gonna find negative with all the good, but I think there are a lot of people out there that are helpful in terms of how their stay went at their particular resort.
Yeah, I know someone that used to do a photo blog about resorts, but I don't know, the site shut down.
And Kurt is referring to WDW Fan Zone, which, yes, it's almost a year. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I do try to get as many pictures as I can on our Facebook page, though. So I know I have a bunch that I have to load up
Mhm.
from a past couple of visits, which I wanted to wait till I got all of them for the Grand Floridian.
But to Kurt's point before, you want to hear the facts. If somebody said, we had it, they're going to put their personal opinion in it, which is fine. I stayed at the Grand Floridian. It was wonderful. It was great. It was that, but they'll also tell you about like the size of the room. Is it comfortable for 4 people? Is it comfortable for 4 people and 2 kids, or 2 adults and 4 kids? They'll let you know. And those are the kind of things that are helpful, and social media has been wonderful about.
Right. So our last trip, we did if this is a 2-bedroom lock off. This is all the space you get. Look at how much more room it is at this location versus another location. I just gave the facts of what it looked like. Of course, I did stipulate the park or the resort hadn't fully reopened to everybody. It was only open to DVC and cast members who they were giving a free room to. It wasn't crazy busy yet. And I was right out there saying, look, it's not crazy busy yet. They hasn't reopened. When you come and stay here, you might see things a little different, but this is what the room looks like.
Darlene and I, along with Jess, we do a news show in the beginning of the week, Disney news show, and we do our very best to stick with the facts. Sometimes I'll go a little overboard and throw an opinion in there, but we really do try to stick to the facts and bring you the news without telling you and I'm not saying there has to be a side, but we'll give you the news without letting you know whether it's good or bad news. We'll just bring you the news and let you form your own opinion.
Well, even on this podcast, you don't like Orange Blossom Cafe. That's my go-to for orange chicken. I just want something different. It's quick. I know I like the orange chicken. I go in, grab it. I got my meal. And that's what's important when you're doing your research online. Is, okay, well, Kurt likes this. Stuart doesn't like it. I tend to agree with one or the other. Well, so I'll listen to more his food style than this, Midwest versus the East Coast.
Nine Dragons is a restaurant that I absolutely abhor. I can't stand the place. I think it's overpriced. I think the food is inadequate.
And I've never eaten there.
And you know what? Somebody from a small state might love it. And I know, and I'm not just saying that, I'm the only one who has said not nice things about them. I know a lot of people that are from the Northeast, New York and New Jersey in particular, and Connecticut as well, that can't stand the restaurant for the same reasons. And so sometimes it becomes a regional thing, where you live and what you're used to. We've got a neighbors, I should say, that have lived in Florida for many, many years. Before that, they lived in the Midwest. So they've gotten used to the food here, and they're very comfortable with the food here, and they love the food here. And there are a great deal of wonderful restaurants, and they are not just in, Disney World property. But there's some restaurants where they'll say, "Oh God, we love this food," and it's like, it's awful.
Why?
But it depends. Your tastes are what your tastes are. A lot of times, it's what you've become used to from where you've been brought up and where what you've had access to. So you can't fault people for liking things or disliking things, although I have.
No, but again, if you're from the Midwest, you might like. We're even talking pizza. Now, I've grown up on thin crust pizza. Chicago's known for deep dish. Mm-hmm. I like Lou Malnati's. Other people like Connie's. Other people like others. Okay, we each have our own taste, but it's a deep dish pizza. If you grew up on the East Coast, you're like, there's way too much cheese on this. What are you doing? This is pizza. This is like a
burgers to itself.
casserole. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all depends on where your tastes are from and what you really like.
Yep.
I have heard that, some of these burgers are the best burgers ever on property. And I've actually had people eat at all the different burgers and sit there and tell me they're all the same burger. The burger's the same, they just change whatever they're putting onto it. So decide which one you like that you put whatever all the additives are, all the add-ons that they're putting on the top, and that'll be your decision.
Yeah, I'll talking about burgers. I went to the Edison. Oh God, it's not quite. I don't think it's a year yet. I'm not sure, but I'd gone there and I got the burger there. I did not like the burger. I thought it was very overpriced for what it was, and it just wasn't good.
I've heard that.
But
I may have had a reservation there and been talked out of staying there by someone other than you, and changing to something that's a little bit more home style that I might enjoy a little bit more. Atmosphere I might like a little bit better for going with the family.
So to anybody watching or listening to us out there, price doesn't always dictate quality. So the first thing, you don't go to a steak place to buy seafood. You don't go to a seafood restaurant to get a burger. That's not their specialty. Just if you have certain likes and dislikes, and you may be traveling with a party where it may vary quite a bit, Disney's very accommodating, no matter what you're looking for. So study the menu. If you have any special dietary needs, Disney's great at that. And you may not get that information. You may get too much or not enough information about that on social media.
But if you do your research on the Disney website, they will actually go down there and they can separate, here's your gluten-free menu.
Yep.
And it will show you those things individually, which is where it's nice to do your research online with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, like Darlene's friend, if you're a person who is old school, call Disney up, ask them the questions. They'll refer you to hopefully the right party. They should be able to get to the right party that can answer your questions. If you have a travel planner, do that. And speaking of travel planners, who better than Mouse Fan Travel? So
no one.
I'm telling you, when you want to go to Walt Disney World, when you want to go to Disneyland, take a Disney cruise, an adventure by Disney. And yes, they do non-Disney vacations as well, and they do them better than anybody else. So if you have to take a non-Disney vacation, Mouse Fan Travel will plan it better for you than anyone else. They've got experts in every facet of the travel industry. They're globally known and respected. Their agents are better than any other agents in any other travel agency. Guaranteed. Kind of, sort of. Yes, definitely. Mouse Fan Travel has great deals going on for you right now. So when you want to plan your next Disney vacation, you probably are already thinking about 2023, you can find out all about the deals they've got going on now and maybe some in the future by going to www.mousefantravel.com. That's www.mousefantravel.com.
And if you'd like to live near Stuart and I, you
not
could.
A good segue there, but go ahead, Darlene.
I figure I'd get it in while I can. We have a dear friend, Victor Nuraki. He has DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com. This website will help you find the house of your dreams, and you can look into the Disney areas around us, further away. If you only want to be you want to be on the ocean, I'm sure he could probably find you a house on the ocean. So go check out DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com for Victor Nuraki. He has all social media links right there. Speaking of it, it's the perfect show to show that. So give him a call. Tell him that WDW Fan Zone sent you.
Now, I just want to pick up on something with Victor. Something people are known to do down here. They come to Disney World for vacation. They go, I've got a day or two or a couple hours. I'm going to look for a house. Maybe I'll move down here. Maybe I won't. And they're wasting the realtor's time. Instead of, at that point, if you're not serious, you should do that on your own. go to a realtor when you're serious about making the move. You know, there are a lot of places you can go, a lot of information you can get online and down here. By taking those steps yourself before you go to a realtor, please don't go to a realtor until you're serious about looking to make the move. It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time, and you're not going to get the answers you're looking for if you're not serious. Just want to put that out there. All right. Yeah, so social media. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly is the people that, you know, they'll put out there, oh, I had this sandwich in this park and at this restaurant. It was terrible. I'm not going to eat it ever again. And then all of a sudden someone goes, you know, I've never had it, but I've heard it. I think you're right. And then it goes on and on and on and on. And then the poor person who was planning on eating there because they love that kind of food is like, do I go there? Because they can't separate the morons from the actual information. So you've got to be very careful about that
The
too.
person might have a legitimate gripe. They may have just had a bad burger one day.
And
maybe their food got left there for too long, and by the time it got to them, it just wasn't a good burger or whatever it was they were eating. It happens.
It does happen. Now, perfect example, what happened to us years ago. Friends of ours had told us, go to Mama Melrose. It's really good Italian food. You're going to love it. We went there and it was like, it wasn't that good. We tried it again, I want to say within the last year, and it was great. It might have just been a bad night. You know,
new chefs.
Right.
You told me that about Tony's Town Square too, and Keith and I liked it. We had a great meal.
You know, Tony Town Square is better than it was years ago, and it depends on what you get. You know, I'm not gonna. It's hard to screw up pasta, no matter where you go. People do it. Don't get me wrong. People do screw it up, but it's hard to do that. Just, you know, I don't want to go back and say, you know, it depends on where you're from and what region of the country you're from, but.
And if you've been taught how to make sauce or gravy, depending on how you say it, depending if you're Italian or not.
Someone from Brooklyn who was someone Italian from Brooklyn whose mother and grandmother make things from scratch. They may not like Tony's Town Square. Just saying, and maybe they will. I don't know. It's just something that you do have to think about when you're making.
That's why I normally don't get traditional sauce when I go out anywhere, because I make my own from scratch, and I learned from an Italian lady, Italian grandma.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to remember, and you were saying this, that social media, I mean, when you're looking at social media posts and content, it's as of a point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as you say, somebody could have a bad night. You know, it could be a server's got a challenge on a given day, or something about the food's just not perfect on a given day.
Yep.
You have to be careful that you're not just basing something from one social media location on a given day. You know, you got to be a little broader, take things with a grain of salt sometimes, and realize that any given post is just as of a point in time.
Yes.
And may I make a suggestion for anybody who's looking at social media for their information? Don't look at social media for your information.
I like when someone will post. Usually, I catch it on Instagram. It's coming over from TikTok. Here's your social media post where someone's standing there in front of the castle and there's nobody there. And in reality, that happened as soon as the gates opened, and they had like a very first
millimeter
early morning reservation. But reality, it shows like 1,000 people all standing around that same area. So you're never going to get that picture, you know, or the picture of someone sitting on Main Street, USA, not realizing that picture was taken at midnight when the park closes at midnight.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. So I like when they're telling you that this is what you're seeing. However, this is what it's really like. And, you know, you're not going to get that picture. So don't use that as an influence. This is the reality.
You know, I had put a picture up of going to the entrance into Epcot, and you can see the monorail on elevated to one side in the globe there, and there was nobody in the shot. It was just a fraction of a moment that I happened to get lucky to get that picture of. That's not reality.
No.
Well, and even with the negative postings that can be out there, they must not be having too big of an impact if the parks continue to be as crowded as they are.
Yep, I agree with you. But my concern with what I'm seeing on social media, or from what I'm thinking I'm seeing on social media, is that people's expectations are changing when they're planning a vacation to come to Disney World. I think social media is taking out even more spontaneity than Disney's taking out by making you, do advanced dining reservations, Genie Plus, the paper rides, reserving a park. I think social media is even more, and I don't want to use the word dangerous, but more influential when it comes to building or minimizing someone's expectations of what their vacation is going to be.
I would agree.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think you just have to be careful. That's why, when Facebook first came about, I wasn't really interested in that because I had gotten used to Twitter. So I was doing a lot on Twitter. But when all my friends migrated over to Facebook, I went there. And then at some point, and I'm going back a number of years, I just said, I've had enough of this. I saw too much negativity out there, too much like, oh, look at me. I'm walking my dog. No, Darlene, no offense, I'm not referring to you. I know you put pictures up of you walking your dog every day. I'm not talking about you. But people put up, I'm walking my dog. I just came home from walking my dog. I'm sitting in my living room. Now I'm getting up. I'm going to the bathroom. I don't want to know you're having a number 1 or 2. I don't want to know you're going to the bathroom. I don't want to know what you're having for lunch. There are so many people out there that they think it's so important. They put every aspect of their day on social media. It's nuts.
See, and I don't even see that anymore. I don't know if that's not part of my whatever they do for figuring out who I want to see and who I don't want to see.
Well, I don't see that anymore either because I just
stuff.
don't look at, I'll post a few things here and there, but I just don't look at social media anymore. And I apologize for anybody who might want to interact with me. You have to send me something directly for me to know that. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore it because I just don't want to get involved with it. There's too much nonsense out there.
It's hard for some people. Instant messaging, if everyone can instant message you, if you are a social influence situation, I don't know how someone like Lou Mangello gets through his day with all the messages he has to get.
Yeah,
I have a friend who
I agree with you.
Owns a company who he answers his own tech questions. And he's out there on there, and sure enough, I'll message him something important that we've got going on together, and he may not see the message for four days.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he's had to disconnect.
Excuse me 1 second. I have to kill a bug on the wall, but keep talking.
Kill the bug! Use your shoe. So and that's where you run into issues is maybe there's someone you're trying to get a hold of and you were always able to get a hold of them before. They've had to disconnect some too.
Yeah.
And you may not get the answer. And now people hate that. It's like you just have to realize they have a life too.
And this is the thing too. Like I had a friend that messaged me on Instagram, and I very rarely look at the messages on Instagram. And I wish you would have just messaged me the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and see, it's
and messages.
Instagram I do answer. So I also have everything set to private so that it's only I know it's my friends contacting me. But that's something I will answer right away. If I know you. If I don't know you, I don't know why you're messaging me. So I may not answer that. But
a lot of the messages I get on Facebook are people that are spammers. Or send it through Messenger. On Twitter, I don't get them as often, but when I do, it's usually a friend. but I hardly pay attention to Twitter anymore.
See,
same
and I
thing with
never look
Instagram,
at
it's a lot
Twitter
of
anymore
spam.
unless I need to follow a rain delay for something with NASCAR.
Yeah.
But usually that's on Instagram now also.
Yeah.
So
You know, it's like you can find me more on Facebook than anywhere else, and I'm hardly on Facebook.
Are you still on Twitter?
I'm sorry?
Are you still on Twitter?
Am I still on Twitter?
Yes.
I still have Twitter, but I don't really use it. The only thing I use on Twitter is to
You
really
repost
to
things.
publicize the show. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and
I don't really use Twitter
and-
anymore. I use Facebook or Instagram more.
you know, and the Widow Bride, Kat Cressida, if she puts something out on Twitter and I see it there, I'll, you know, retweet it for her. So she does a lot of good things for Disney. So that's someone people can look. If you're looking for information on the Haunted Mansion and other things on Disney, Kat Cressida is a good person to follow. Yeah, you know, it's so where do you see social media going in the next 6 months to a year? Think any changes will happen, or you think it's going to follow the same direction it's going in now?
It's going to blow up.
I'm afraid of what's going on in the whole metaverse thing. All this 3D stuff, because he's already talked about, we got so many people that can't make it down, so we're going to do this virtual reality, whether you're wearing the Oculus or whatever kinds of 3D goggles and doing it that way. Now you can walk through the parks. My problem with all of that is that's not free.
No, it's not.
So
and I don't know if you
can't use that
noticed.
even for research.
I don't know if you noticed Disney and quite a number of other companies that use the meta or getting into the metaverse. They are not using the M word now. They're walking away from the M word because they don't want to, I guess, scare people with what's coming.
Are you talking meta? As in metaverse? I don't know what you mean.
Metaverse.
Okay. So I don't know.
I don't either. I think we've gotten to the point in time, unfortunately, where technology, when I say technology, I mean social media technology, is doing exactly what Disney's trying to do to us. They're trying to control our behavior. Disney does it just when we're in the parks.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is trying to do it with our daily lives. And that's dangerous. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of good there. There is. But you have to be able to discern for yourself what the good is and take out the bad. And sometimes it's not so easy because somebody sitting in their basement behind a computer can wreak havoc by just posting crap.
Well, it's certainly where some of the younger generations get most of their content.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Oh yeah,
social media. So it's certainly. I mean, you asked the question, where is it going? It's not going away anytime soon. It might start to evolve. It seems as if it's going to take a while for the metaverse to get going. It's going to take some small steps probably at first, but social media isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
It's here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we like it or not. Will it transform? Of course it will, as will anything else. You know, you move into the future, things transform and evolve. Just an observation, Darlene, I just noticed this. I'm wearing a t-shirt, you're in short sleeves.
I've got short sleeves on.
Kurt,
my long sleeve Cub shirt.
Kurt and John are wearing sweatshirts.
Yeah.
I'm in the basement.
But now don't get me wrong. This morning and yesterday morning, I was wearing my Hocus Pocus spirit jersey to walk my Cogsworth in the morning because it was 64 degrees out.
John, it's 64 degrees.
You know what? I'm down here almost a few years now, and I'm still warm. It's like if it's 60 degrees and I'm still in shorts and a t-shirt, I'm still warm.
But see, we all have to remember, I worked in a meat room at Tops Markets back in the day, and that
So
kind of ruined
that's your
me.
excuse.
See, now if you worked in the meat room, you'd be used to the cold. I mean, I ran all through high school and part of my college years. We'd
Ruined me
go out
for
and run.
skiing and everything.
From the waist downward, like there's no sensitivity to legs anyways, because you weren't wearing sweats. You're just out there running in 35-degree weather. You had to sweat. You had to keep the core warm, but everything else, it's like I could walk around. It could be 50 degrees. I could have shorts on,
Mhm.
and it wouldn't affect me at all. Got to
Mhm.
keep the core warm though.
You go into a meat room one of these days.
I
Totally
have.
I have. When I was in high school and the early part of college, I worked in a supermarket, and I was in the meat room every now and then.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was fine. I didn't complain about it. It's part of my job.
Yeah, no, I did it while I was there. I don't have to do it now though.
Okay.
I can be nice and warm.
Lightweight.
Yeah. So let's get out of the rack room and
Okay.
back to what we were talking about.
It's hey, just like we always said, it's got to be true. I googled it.
Mm.
No.
Oh yeah.
We
I
joke
know.
about it with everything else. It's the same thing with this.
Yep.
Just because you read about it somewhere on a website, what was the website? I'm not mentioning any websites, but there's some website out there that if you go through your Google News and you see this website posting it with a huge tagline,
Yep.
that doesn't mean it's a good article or that it's true. I
Absolutely.
mean, they've called again, we've talked about it before. They've called out people for saying, sending up this news that isn't real about the Country Bear Jamboree is gone and the Tiki Room is going to be gone and this is going to be gone. And they're like, none of these rumors are true. None of these rumors are even being discussed. So take it for a grain of salt. If you're researching a trip and there's only one website reporting something, whatever, double check your facts and make sure it's true.
And you know what?
It
If you're
might
not
not be true.
sure, contact your travel planner if you have one. If you don't, try to go to as many websites as you possibly can and go to
Right.
different news sources. Google News is not the only news source out there for Disney. There's other news sources out there. Go to Bing and do a news search there. I'm not saying that's better or worse, but it just gives you other maybe resources that you won't find.
Different search engines.
Yeah. Bing tends to be more condensed when it comes to spitting out whatever you're researching, where Google will take you all over the place.
You can use Yahoo.
Yep. Yahoo's another one.
They're all out there. It's
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. In terms of social media, because somebody puts something up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, be careful. Really be careful with what you see in there. If you don't know the person or you don't, move on.
Yeah, but take advantage of the good that's out there. So
Mhm.
we've
Absolutely.
talked about the positive
Absolutely.
communities out there. We certainly have our community with the podcast and some
Yep.
social media, and there's plenty of out there. So enjoy the content and the entertainment that you get from those good communities.
Well, what do you do if you're planning your first Disney vacation? You've researched some online, but you don't know any of the communities online. Like you're just finding your way. You might, find the right community when you're looking information, asking questions, and you may not. My suggestion would be, if you're not familiar with the online communities, if you pose a question out there, even if you think it's a dumb question or a simple question, and you get a condescending, not so positive response, then you're probably not in the right community.
Well, and you can
Yeah.
investigate past responses in the communities
Yes.
to see how others were treated. So
Yes.
you can get a sense of that.
Mhm.
Right. Or you can look at that Disney panel, like John was saying,
Mhm.
that'll actually tell you, hey, this is what we've seen. This is what, traditionally, this is what happens at this point. This is what you can do this. Other
Mhm.
people chime in as well. It's more than one person giving you an answer there. And they either go with that or else look. There might be someone else saying, look, no, that's not true.
Yeah. And now we've been talking about different things here. That's not quite social media. I mean, that is a media channel, but I wouldn't consider it to be social media per se.
It's Disney social media, I guess is where I go with that.
And,
But
Well, it's a
also
source.
realize you're not going to find a lot of negativity on that website.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of websites that will only tell you the good. They won't tell you the bad.
Right. You don't want that either.
They spin it. They spin it a certain way.
Well,
And if they say you decide what you think, there you go.
Yeah.
At least they're giving you an honest opinion.
you're not going to get a job as a panelist on that site if you aren't generally positive to begin with.
But
There's
you know,
a lot of competition for those.
oh, absolutely. But
Right.
generally, the people asking the questions there are asking for information. They're
Exactly.
not looking
That's
for
my point.
someone's opinion. So,
More
you know,
so, I think there's some of both, but yeah, I would agree that more so it's, what is the answer? What are my options? How can I do this? Right.
right, and they're going to get a positive response because it's not owned but controlled to a degree by the Disney company.
Yeah.
Right. They are not Disney employees, though.
No, they are not. They are volunteers.
They're giving individual responses of what they feel.
Mhm.
However, it will have a positive spin on it. Hey, there are social medias people that are out there that got to go on the Star Cruiser, and we're basically told, look, if you say anything negative about the Star Cruiser, you're never coming back on. You're going to lose your Disney media credentials.
So I didn't hear that.
So I've read articles about it because there's been a couple people that aren't allowed to go back anymore. One person from, I don't know, the Post at wherever wrote something negative, and now the entire newspaper is no longer invited to go back to any of these things anymore. But they wrote a very negative review. You can still say to something, you can talk about that Star Cruiser, about what a great time you had, but this is what made it a great time. In other words, you're still putting a positive twist on it, but you're saying, basically, if you're an introverted person, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to get the fun out of it that you put into it. If you're an introvert and you just want to stay in your room, you're wasting your time. So like anything else, whatever you do, how you treat it is how you got to have an honest opinion. And I've seen people do that. And I've seen others that talk about how great it was and it was the best event ever, but they're not actually going into detail of why it was the best thing ever. So that's where I started learning about that.
It's. I don't know what to say to that.
I can tell you more off air about it, but I don't
know what to say to that. I do know you're seeing a lot of articles recently coming out about people, and I don't know where they're getting their stats from or who the people they're talking to, that they're never going back to Disney because the magic isn't there. Is it that the magic isn't there, or that you didn't want to spend the money on Genie Plus to go on every single attraction in the 2 weeks you were there or the week you were there, so you didn't have a great time? You didn't allow yourself to have a great time because it was crowded. I could walk into a park. I don't like crowds, but I can go into a crowded park, and I have done that at Disney World and had a great time despite the crowds. It's all what you make of it. You don't,
Sometimes I don't even ride anything and I have a great time.
That's the thing. I'm the wrong person now to ask because I love Rock and Roller Coaster. I haven't ridden Rock and Roller Coaster in 6 years. And my son and I say, this is the year we're going to ride it. We don't. But we're still having a great time while we're there because of the members who are making together as a family. But if we miss something, as you said, we go once or twice a year. I've been going since 72. I know what I'm about to see. I can't wait to see Guardians of the Galaxy because that's something I haven't seen yet. But other than that, I could count on one hand, okay, maybe two now, the number of attractions that have opened and closed that I haven't been able to go on. Not once. So I'm the wrong person to ask, what do we need to do and what do we need to see and what do we need to. I can give you suggestions, but you might not like the suggestion I'm giving you.
I'll never experience Guardians of the Galaxy. I would love to go on it, but because of my motion sickness and what I've heard and seen, with the videos, I know it's not for me. I know it. I know I will get sick. I will lose my lunch or dinner.
Thank
So
goodness I'm okay with that. It's the flips that get me now.
See,
So-
now I haven't even seen or heard anything about it, so I'm kind of doing that la 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 as
Yeah.
you guys are even talking about it, because this is one attraction I just want to experience
And you should.
walking into the first time.
And that's
But I know
that's
there's videos out there.
Yeah, I
And
know.
you should.
And that's the one thing I would do when we were come down to Walt Disney World. I would not look at the new
Mhm.
things at all.
Yeah,
Um,
if I know I'm going on an attraction, I'm not looking at the videos. I do
Yeah,
not, and I will not look at any of the information that's being posted about it because I want to experience for myself. And that is where I think people planning vacations are going wrong. They're looking for too much information
yes.
about what they want to experience, and they kind of have to look the other way.
And then they feel let down if it doesn't make. That's not what I saw in the video. That's completely different.
Right. Don't look at first of all, don't look at the videos if you've never done an attraction you're planning on going on. Don't
Yeah.
look at the videos.
If
good.
you want
Spontaneity.
thank you.
Spontaneity, yeah.
If you want that, then don't bother looking at the videos. Just come
Mhm.
down, walk through the park, check out, start on the left, the right, or start straight down the middle. Do one of them and go from ride to ride.
You know what? Years ago, you could plan a Disney vacation by what park am I going to be on this day? Okay, then you'll pick the restaurants where you're going to eat and your fast pass. That's changed dramatically.
I remember in 1998 when we came down and we had our tickets and we didn't know what the first park Alicia wanted to go to was Magic Kingdom. We went to Magic Kingdom. The second day we went to Holly or MGM, and then we went to Epcot, and then we switched and went to Universal one day and SeaWorld the next day, and then we came back and went back to Magic Kingdom because she loved it so much.
And we use the tour guide book that Kurt is trying to grab now to show everybody. And we would, if they said that Monday was a bad day to go to Magic Kingdom, then we didn't go to Magic Kingdom. If they said Animal Kingdom was the park to go to, that's where we went.
1994, 2007.
Yeah.
Same guide.
Yeah. Double, almost.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's doubled in size.
Yeah.
Overwhelming. So
Can you imagine
the
if they put a
research
guide out
is
now?
overwhelming.
Can you
So,
imagine-
but now, I mean, we had the patience to sit down and read that book
We
Mhm.
did.
for
Yeah.
4 months and highlight what we wanted to do or put a little post-it.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Those little
Now-
flags in them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the unofficial
now-
guide was the official guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the official guide, the official guide didn't give you very much information.
No, I never liked Birnbaum's version.
I
So-
actually borrowed my books out to like many family members and
Yeah.
stuff
You mean
over
you
the
loaned?
years.
You loaned or you borrowed them?
Well,
Loaned.
borrowed them, loaned,
Okay.
both.
All right.
So yeah, people don't want to sit down and read anymore. They
No, they
want to
don't.
be told.
And they want
Tell
the
me about
information. They want the information now.
Mhm.
And that's another mistake people are making with social media. It's they put something out there, they're looking for something, they want the answer now. They're not looking for the right answer. They're not looking for the best information. They just want an answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I see that with my kids. It's my daughter will get kicked out of something online. She'll call me up, Dad, how do I do this? I got to get in there now. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I got to stop what I'm doing to help her. Because if I don't, she'll keep bugging me until I do. So,
Dad,
and I'm not
Dad.
saying that in a bad way. I
You're
am happy to
Mufasa.
help my daughter out. But but that's just how kids are now. It's just everything, or the younger generations. I say that as an old person. They want instant gratification. And do you think Disney doesn't know this? That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Well, that's why things are short. The attractions are shorter
Mm-hmm.
because people complain. If you keep me in there, other than Rise of the Resistance, something like that, where they're keeping you active, boom, 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 nonstop, active, 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 active. Other attractions, they're shortening instead of lengthening.
Yeah.
Carousel of Progress, they can't make it that any shorter.
No, it's
based off of just the design of it. But if they could make it shorter,
they would.
Country Bears, Tiki Room, even the Jungle Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
The Jungle Cruise, they used to pause in between, and now it's like full throttle the
Keep
whole
going.
way, all the way through.
Yep.
And they used to pause that thing in certain areas.
I remember
they used to
that.
pause and talk about the backside of water.
Yep.
And they don't do that anymore because we got to get all these people going through here. The more boats we can get through, the faster we can get the people through the lines.
You're looking at it the wrong way.
You're
looking at it the wrong way. It's the guests want to get through it faster. Also, it's not just
Well,
Disney wanting to get more guests on there.
That's why they have to do that, though, because otherwise they're getting too many complaints. So everything's short and fast-paced now. Now.
Have you ever thought about this? Yes, Genie Plus is absolutely something they want to make money off of, and that's why they introduced it. But is it also possible, and I think it is, that Genie Plus has become a reality because guests want to be told, I'm getting on this attraction, I'm getting on that attraction, that's on my list, I'm not going to be satisfied unless I get on them. So now you have a way by paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want that instant gratification in some respects.
It's complex, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
The cause and effect are...
my kids have a different way of thinking than I do, just like I did for my parents. It's, and their kids will too.
Yes.
It's, and I remember, how many times have you heard, when your kids were little, but you don't understand me, Dad? And how many times do you remember saying that to your father? But you don't understand me, Dad. It's, you know what? It's life. All right. Anybody want to add anything else to this wonderful conversation?
I think social media can keep itself going for a long time to come. So
it will.
Take it as a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Do your research on multiple places.
And be discerning. Use your brain. Think about things and make your own decisions.
If you don't get the answer you want because it's not the answer you want to hear, keep looking. But that doesn't mean the person's wrong. If you get a negative response and another negative response from the same group of people, you're in the wrong place. Find someplace else that'll give you the actual information.
I saw a headline that said they were canceling Splash Mountain's destruction, that it was going to stay Splash Mountain.
I saw that too.
I saw an article saying that. I went, this is not real. I'm not clicking on it. Because they just released all the information on what they're going to be doing at D23.
There's a certain website out there. I'm not going to mention who it is.
Don't want to give them the traffic.
No, exactly. I do not. That I don't know how they get their information, where they get it, because they seem to be the the first thing you see when you do the search, or one of the first. I don't want to say the first. One of the first, and they're very negative when it comes to Disney, and not because they're putting things in a bad light about Disney. They're out and out lying about what's going on in the parks just because it gets people and traffic going to them. They're trying to shock you into going to their site with information that's just not accurate or true.
Mm-hmm. No, it's clickbait.
Yep.
It is all clickbait. So do your research is the point I'm trying to make with all of that. Just check multiple sites.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anybody else want to add anything before we really get out of here today?
I just
Right.
think if you want to be off of the grid, you can be off the grid. You don't need
Mhm.
to be following any social media at all. If you want to take pictures and post them and want to post them after you get back from your vacation, do that. You don't have to. Just know that other people will be doing it.
When when I first started using social media, I loved it. I was into it. I was on it all the time. And as the years went on, I started using it less and less because I didn't like what it was evolving to. And
Hmm.
where it is today is, for me, it can be very helpful. It can be very
Mhm.
informative, but there are things that I see out there that I don't like. And you know what? If I see something out there I don't like, I tend to stay away from it because I don't want to get involved in it. So I just post what I post and I kind of ignore the rest. And it's been working for me. That doesn't mean that's going to work for you. You've got to do what you're comfortable with, what's best for you. And on that note, everybody be safe. Bye bye.
Good night, everybody.
If you're going to use social media for Disney, be constructive and stay away from the bad actors because their teeth and ambitions are bad. Be prepared. Good night.
Have a magical night. Stay safe. And if you're coming down, even though it is only October, be prepared with your umbrella and your ponchos in case you still get an afternoon shower.